Hello, and welcome to Inspired Leadership, a podcast where we speak with HR leaders and change makers about all the topics of the workplace today. I'm Jamie Klein, CEO and founder of Inspire HR. For those who don't know us, we're an organization that offers fractional and interim HR expertise in areas of HR business partner, total rewards, talent acquisition, and talent management, always with a focus on inclusion woven in. And we work with companies large and small. And what we love to do is bring together leaders who are all wrestling with similar topics so that we can really learn from each other. And I'm thrilled today to be joined by a longtime colleague, Jyoti Rao, who's the Senior Vice President, Chief Talent Officer at New York Presbyterian. Jyoti, thank you so much for making the time.
Absolutely a pleasure, Jamie. Such a wonderful to be at your podcast. I've been listening to your podcast and always inspired to hear the speakers that you always bring. And it's clearly an honor to be on your podcast.
Oh my gosh. Well, right back at you. And you are one of these people where every time we connect, I always walk away with new insight. And so I'm thrilled to share that with folks today. So you and I have known each other a long time, but if you can just fill in our audience, tell us a little bit about your career journey.
100%. If you were to ask Jyoti Rai, 18 years, who was 18 years old, doing an undergrad in physics, and would she have ever imagined being here? Never. My career, where I grew up in India. I did my education in India. In fact, I did my undergrad in physics, and then steered away from physics or the sciences background into HR, which actually started with an internship on a shop floor, and that's what drew me into HR. But as I started my career, I started in consulting and then moved to American Express. I've had the great fortune of being part of great organizations, whether it is, American Express, Moody's, and now with even New York Presbyterian. But as I have navigated my experience and my career journey through different aspects of HR in different geographies, it has been really defined by the support of the great leaders, mentors, and sponsors who've taken a chance, tapped me on the shoulders, not only for different roles, but to move across geographies. And moving across geography with family and small kids is never easy, but this has been really remarkable in terms of, just how it helped me shape who I am as a leader, who I am as a parent, who I am as a spouse.
Mm. Well, I always think that whatever we learn at work, we can bring to the home front and vice versa. And as a fellow twin mom of boy-girl twins, I really have always admired how you keep it all in motion. So really so impressed with your journey. And when I think about the spot that you're in now, looking after, believe it's talent and total rewards, you really have a bird's eye view of so much at a hospital that is near and dear to so many folks as a top research facility and caregiving institution. Um, in our last conversation, we spoke a bit about how AI is starting to get woven in, and I love to begin there. We have, when we speak to organizations and clients, folks are really on the spectrum. Some are saying they don't even want to dip their foot in the pool. They really want others to kind of make the mistakes first so they can kind of learn and then adopt. Others are saying, hey, I'm going to just, give everyone Pilot or ChatGPT or Claude to, polish their emails. And others are at a point where they're truly integrated into the entire employee experience. So can you, just to kind of set the table, fill us in on how you are weaving it in at Columbia Presbyterian?
Sure. So let me just talk first about New York Presbyterian. I'm sure people know about it, but it is, I have the great privilege of leading talent and rewards at New York Presbyterian, where we are, an academic medical center with 10 hospitals and over 300 medical facilities across the New York area. And as you rightly said, it is, because we are grounded in research and providing the highest medical care and the kind of care and the complexity of care that we provide is second to none. It is being sought after not only by people in New York and across the nation, but world over, is where we are known for that exceptional care, which is that makes it even more in terms of a responsibility around how we think about engaging in
Mhm.
AI.
I was going to say it's like no pressure.
Yes, no pressure. And
No
and
pressure, my
and
gosh.
and healthcare is complex. So we have to think about that it is not a sprint, it is a marathon.
Mm,
Have to have a very thoughtful approach around how we are really embracing AI. And I intentionally use the word embracing because we are not standing still, but we are moving because we know that there is huge opportunity for us in healthcare, not only for how we provide patient care in being early detection of disease, in how we reimagine clinical trials, how we think about in terms of early diagnostic around problem, understanding problems which cannot be seen just by humans, and there is machines which are picking up those structural disease, problems that may be there in the human body.
mhm,
That's the principle that we are applying in HR as well, and
mm,
starting with a simple framework in terms of what is the problem we are solving for. So it's what, how, and where.
mm,
What problems are we solving for? How will we optimize that solution around technology, around AI? How will we ensure that the decisions we are taking are the right decisions? And then where we start.
mm,
So it is in terms of making sure that we have that thoughtful framework around understanding in terms of the problems, looking at our workflows, because we do know that there is huge opportunity as we look at AI, and we
mm,
are, whether it is in our HR shared services areas, to our HR talent acquisition areas, to in terms of how we think about talent management areas, all across, there is areas where we are bringing in technology, where we are looking at our workflows and optimizing it around AI, so that we are enabling we are enabling the employee experience, which is scalable, which is personable, which is also efficient, because we now know have much more data and insights.
mhm. And I know that, my gosh, you have folks who are exempt, non-exempt, physicians, clinicians, back office, orderlies who provide patient transport. Can you give me an example of how AI is woven, for example, into the kind of career development experience of any of those employees, just to give a sense of the innovative things that you're doing?
Yeah, that's a great question, because when we think, you just talked about the diversity of our workforce
Yeah.
and the kind of areas that you have highly specialized surgeons to, somebody who is starting in the support services.
Mhm,
We have to care for all.
mhm,
We have to think about how do we create that culture of belonging where they see themselves growing and that there is growth for everybody.
mhm,
In fact, we have a big ambition of saying 60% internal movement.
mhm,
But that starts with thinking through our career pathways, because we know our traditional career pathways, there is more and more research on saying the traditional career pathways are not going to be there in the future.
sure.
So there is breakdown of those careers. We
Mhm,
then looking at our roles and how we are going to optimize our workforce around those new roles,
mhm,
and looking at where the role shifts are happening and what those role shifts will look like. So, how are we training people around technology so that it's not a forced collaboration? Because
mhm,
we want to make sure that as we are looking at these in terms of that, there is a thoughtful approach on where we are digitizing our processes,
Mhm.
where we are bringing what technology and how humans are leveraging those technology. For
Hmm.
example, even medical equipment, that there is infused AI in the medical equipment that we use.
How so?
So, for example, I'll give you one very basic example around um, when if I just look at support services,
Oh,
linen delivery. Do you need somebody to deliver the linen, or you can have a robot delivering the linen?
a
With
robot can literally bring the linens down the hallway.
food, yeah. So how do you think about that role, and how do you? It's more about operating the machine versus delivering the linen.
Sure.
And that's where, in terms of how we think about careers and roles and what skills you need in each of those roles. And I gave you a very basic, I gave you a simple example, but in every role that we can pick up, there is change and shift happening.
Mhm. Mhm. We always talk about about how AI can really help us automate a bit of the joyless work. And so when I think about the delivering a tray or delivering a linen, I'd imagine that the folks who previously did that type of role can also be freed up then to do things that are more about creating that culture of belonging, connecting with patients, making sure that the mental health and the wellness is there. It kind of frees people up to do kind of that higher level thinking task.
Right. And as we educate those people, because if I just go back to where when we talk about 60% internal mobility, we know that across our nation, everywhere we talk about talent shortages,
Mm,
right?
without a
I
doubt. Sure.
I don't even need to throw numbers in terms of that there is shortage of healthcare staff.
Mhm.
And the only way we can mitigate that is two things. One, really thinking through how we grow our own internal pipelines. And our internal pipelines require, in some, in all the clinical roles, you require credentials. So you require,
Sure.
certain qualifications. You need certain clinical uh, time, and
Mhm.
we need to plan for those clinical rotations. So how are we ensuring that we are creating
Mm,
experiences and opportunities for people, where we can move people from whether from support staff to allied health roles to
mm,
nursing roles, and
mm,
where those career pathways could be. So that's one, growing our own pipeline.
mm.
The
And so I was going to say, and so if someone is, for example, more junior in their career, where they are more of an allied health professional, um, the goal would be, if I'm understanding correctly, for them to say, let me not go to a dermatologist's office to get my hours if I want to apply to physician's assistant school. Let me get my hours here at
correct.
Presbyterian, and then when I get that degree, come back as a physician's assistant to Columbia Presbyterian. So that retention is there because I felt that you developed them all along. Beautiful.
And not just the clinical rotation, but we also support them in their education. So we have significant programs where, Jamie can apply for, and, firstly, we help find Jamie the, that my career interest is in becoming a radio, tech, lab tech.
Sure.
My career interest is in becoming a physician assistant. What can I do that? Where do I start?
Hmm,
What programs can I do? Which schools can I enroll for?
hmm,
How will I think about my financial well-being and mental health as I can I take up my course? And that's where we have support around career coaching. We have support on helping them serve
hmm,
up. Here are the three schools. These are the programs you can do. This is the time frame you can do it in. And when when you do this program, here are the roles that you can go for. This is
hmm,
how the salaries that you can expect to earn, so that they see the full spectrum of what kind of roles that they can go for, what kind of opportunities that they can go for. And more importantly, I think when we start at the support service, is that we are able to tell them how they are able to move to more family sustaining wages and
Hmm.
changes the life experience for them. And we partner with a lot of schools in creating those accelerated programs for our internal talent.
So schools that are adjacent to the where the campuses are of the hospital, so they can, in addition to working, take those courses,
Yes,
and all while still accruing for tenure and PTO and all the things without having to hop to another organization.
yes,
Brilliant.
yes,
Um, and there is no healthcare organization that isn't feeling that shortage. And I would imagine that having these multiple career paths make people feel that they can have almost, six different careers within the same organization. Fantastic.
mhm.
When we're regarding AI, what is the culture around AI at New York Presbyterian? I'm just thinking about how you get everyone on the bus with that growth mindset.
So the great part is, the sponsorship starts from the leadership and the executive level. Whether it is our CEO to our executive team, and I, as being part of the entire senior leadership team, we all believe this is going to enable us. And I talk about early detection of disease, because how do we reduce the burden of disease,
Mm-hmm.
the people that we are serving? Um, our mission is to create a healthier future for all. And
Hmm.
create a healthier future for all is ensuring that we have, that we are supporting those. So, in terms of, as I mentioned, around making sure we are taking a thoughtful approach around diagnosis,
Hmm.
to supporting people in helping people reduce the burnout. And I can talk a little more about it. And at the same time, how we are ensuring that our systems and technology that we use, whether it is not just the medical equipment, but the technology that we have, including our own HR systems, there is, there is an approach in terms of embedding the AI. Of There is a huge due diligence around what's the science behind,
Hmm.
what's the research behind, to ensure that we are maintaining the highest level of ethical standard and there is no risk in terms of what we see. So that is where, in terms of the governance around making sure that we have tight governance around what
Hmm.
we are bringing, what we are experimenting, but yet at the same time, and experiments within that sandbox,
Hmm.
so that
Right.
we are able to create that safe environment without
Mm.
compromising on, in terms of the data privacy, as well as in terms of our own systems.
I can only imagine just all the disparate tensions that you have in the system to make sure that you are innovative, yet the humans' most precious confidential information, their health, is very much kept secure. And so I really just am so impressed with the way that it's architected kind of at the highest level, and that strategy is woven throughout. So do you think that the introduction of AI, and my gosh, it sounds like you're using it more and more, do you think it's had kind of a positive or negative impact on the company culture at New York Presbyterian, or
Yeah.
somewhere in between?
Yeah, I think it's not AI which will define the culture. And it's more about what is the culture that we want to build for all our stakeholders, starting with our people,
Mhm.
right? How do we infuse the confidence for all our stakeholders? And that
Mhm.
confidence is about trust
Mhm.
and care. That's
Mhm.
the confidence we need to generate for all our stakeholders. And to be able to say who we are as an organization, what do we stand up for as an organization for our stakeholders, what's that unified image, and our uh, 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 when we look at our cultural blueprint, what will be our cultural blueprint? And it started with just end of beginning of the last year. We started on our journey around rethinking and looking at our values and
Mhm.
behaviors, and refreshing our values. And we engaged our leaders, We engaged our team members. We looked at what the science is telling us, and in terms of looking at in terms of what are the five values or what are the values that we want to stand up and should be unified in terms of as an organization. And we stood behind the five values of respect, empathy, integrity, innovation, and teamwork.
Beautiful.
Those are the five values which
Mhm.
this when we talk about New York Presbyterian, this is what we who we are. The second is not just the values, but because the value, how do we embrace it in an everyday life? How do you hold Jyoti accountable for those values?
Mm.
That's where we defined seven behaviors, or we call them as actions.
Okay.
These are the actionable behaviors, and those actionable behaviors all are 45,000 team members across all our system,
Mm.
senior-most to junior-most. We are
Mm.
all saying that this is what those behaviors are, and it may be simple because it's about starting with relationships,
Mhm.
building relationships, thinking critically, decision making, effective communication, inspiring others. I might be missing out one, but those are simple, but yet at the same time that every lead team member, we
Mm.
develop them on those behaviors,
Mm.
select them on those behaviors, we assess them on behaviors, and even from a performance standpoint, those are the seven behaviors that's
Mm.
part of everybody's assessment.
I'm picturing kind of a red thread going through the entire employee experience from the way that you import talent all the way through development and assess. It sounds best place to work on steroids, that is very much the way that things are so intentional. I know that you're an organization that is forever getting that designation of great place to work, and no doubt knowing that healthcare can is a very stressful environment. And here we are, it's 2025. The pandemic is quite a bit in the rear view mirror, but no one will ever forget the dramatic and beautiful work that our healthcare folks did to get our country through the 2020 and the years that followed. But even now, as we stand here, there are innumerable healthcare issues that are unfolding, and I can only imagine how stressful it can be. And I'm curious if you can share a bit of programs and initiatives you have around well-being, mental health, because we have folks obviously from all different industries that listen to the podcast. But if anyone probably has thought this through, it is you. And I'd love to share these ideas.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Burnout has been a major concern, and healthcare, specifically in healthcare, that has been a major concern because, the recovery from COVID has been, you know, has been while intentional, but at the same time, there was a huge price that the healthcare paid as they came out of recovery because you have
Mhm.
a lot of bedside clinical staff like nurses who left the profession because of the burnout. The
Mhm.
physician burnout is a real you know concern, and that's where technology will help us, and I can speak to it a little more. But more importantly, we have been making real strategic investments on how we care for our people, both emotional well,
Mhm.
physical well-being, financial well-being. And while you may say, what, healthcare workers, they will be taking care of their health. Well, they are so involved in being caregivers that they compromise on their own health.
Yeah.
Like even nurses who do a 12-hour shift and they come back for the next 12-hour shift and they come back and they are so involved in their care. So
Mm.
physical well-being in terms of whether it is the weight management, whether it is the walking, whether it, mental well-being, stress
Mm.
is real, and that's where we have been investing a lot in the resources, whether it is the coping resources, to making sure we are reminding them about how to take care of their medical, physical health, how we help them in early diagnostic for themselves,
Mm,
um, and at the same time financial, so that we understand in terms of that there could making sure our benefits are well meaningful comprehensive benefits that we are taking, whether it is both in the health side to retirement side
mm,
to other benefits that we are providing. So I think we are very rich suite of benefits. One of
mhm,
the things that we have been investing is also in a lot of well-being coaches. And
mm.
think about well-being coaches where people are not on their desk; they're standing on their feet,
Sure.
or helping them meeting them where they are, which our well-being coaches are doing rounding. And the rounding, just like think about doctors who are
Sure.
rounding,
Yeah.
well-being coaches are rounding the floors to be able to go meet them, check in on them, and then get time based on their schedule, because they're not reading an email.
Of course, they're on they get nurses get more steps in during the day than most of us do, right? They are on the move. Absolutely. So the
And
yeah.
and that's where the coach is going to them to be able to remind them, did you take your rest break, did you think about this breathing exercise, and they are on the floor with them as
So innovative. Reminding them to do all the self-care things that we're supposed to do, the breathing, the did you drink your water? Did you remember to do the long-term things like get that appointment in for the diagnostics? They kind of are on the floor. And then if they see something that needs to be tended to, do they say, hey, let's set up a separate time to talk when you're off shift?
right. Absolutely. And they are doing a lot of coaching sessions, and these are expert coaches who are trained to do these uh,
Hmm.
counseling sessions, and they are doing these counseling sessions for our team members.
Such an innovative idea. I think of other clients and companies that we know and love where they might have a factory, a call center. Again, folks are on their feet. They are tending to actual machines at times and they cannot leave, right? So I love this idea about how it could be woven in just for stress management for other organizations as well. How does because we always talk about how the tone is set at the top. How does your leadership team signal to all of its employees the importance of the well-being and the mental health?
It's starting with the our leadership team being part of all those programs.
Hmm,
Is the role modeling is key to changing a behavior. Role model is key to the culture, and whether it is our values that I just spoke about, to all our initiatives, is starts with how our leadership is not only supporting Jamie go for this program, but what
mhm.
am I doing for myself? And that storytelling, that role modeling around what am I doing is key for our all leaders. And that's where our leaders are heavily engaged in showcasing and being part of these initiatives.
Beautiful. So if they're themselves making time for the diagnostic or to drink water or get their steps in or breathe, whatever it is, then that becomes a bit contagious.
Mhm.
Um, so I've always been a lover of Sesame Street, and I saw recently that New York Presbyterian announced a partnership with Sesame to really promote children's health and equity. And I would love if you could share a little bit about this because as we know, those many health habits are really taught, around the kitchen table, family of origin, and kind of getting kids when they're young really can set them on that path to create
Correct.
health and an equitable way to make sure that it's strong healthcare for all, as you said.
I love the Sesame Workshop partnership that we have. And I would just, as a mother of twins, as a fellow mom, I'll say children don't need hospitals, right? Children need places to go play. And of course, if there is an situation, how do we help them? Our brand is stay amazing. How do we help them stay amazing? And how do we help them keep stay healthy? And that's really the mission around what that partnership was around, to make sure that we are able to create those resources for them about emotional well-being, physical well-being in a very joyful, playful way. And
Mm.
parents and community resources can create those resources for them. And this really is a 6-part Ask a Doctor series, which talks about nutrition, which talks about sleep, which talks about other areas, and it's a partnership with this the Sesame Street Muppets to our NYP physicians, but it is in terms of the YouTube videos and the storytelling workshops around being healthy. And that's these are the resources that we have that
Mm.
have been created. In fact, there are storybooks. We have also have brought in videos around Elmo and Gabriel, who around so to show that they in terms of how we complement the New York Presbyterian Dalio Health Center Crown hair program, which talks about in terms of different people with different hair types, that they can, how they can be taken care of.
I love it, the Ask a Doctor series. And it's so funny when we think of how this population consumes media. They're not sitting in front of their TV the way that you and I may have as Gen Xers. It's not their parent turning on the channel for them. It's the kid themselves picking it on YouTube. So I love you have this whole series. I always love to kind of end on a personal note. And if you wouldn't mind sharing, I mean, I think of a few things about yourself. When I think about a day in the life of Jyoti, 45,000 employees in one of the largest healthcare systems on our planet, I would love to hear, what do you do for joy? What energizes you? What keeps you fueled? What are you doing for your own self-care? Share all your wisdom if you wouldn't mind.
Oh, for my joy, I will, my kids will say joy, but that's my puppy. That's my dog, Cinnamon. Yeah, she is a Cavapoo, and she gives me so much joy. Besides my twin kids, and though they keep me crazy and busy, my husband will say that that as a family they keep us crazy and busy. And for my own self, you'll either find me on the treadmill or on the yoga mat.
Nice. And are you when you are on the treadmill, are you listening to podcasts, music, or is it just kind of you silent in the zone? What do you do to stay motivated on the treadmill?
Well, I actually not just the podcast, but I also tune into Netflix. And at the same time, sometimes if I'm doing a class, I join the class, I do the class, but I do variations depending on what mood I am, depending on
Okay.
what time I'm getting there to the basement. But that's what I'm doing.
Great. I love that. And I do yoga as well, and always talk about the calm and the peace of mind that we feel on the mat, taking that into our day off the mat. So I love that you're making that time for yourself. Jyoti, thank you so much for joining us and speaking about all the great work that's going on and just all the very forward-looking AI innovation. The next time I'm in a hospital setting, I will look forward to having a robot bring me my linens or my tray. I can't wait to see this in action.
You. It has been such a pleasure
Oh, thank
having
you.
this conversation. Thank you, Jamie.
Care. Thank you. Bye.